HOA Karen demanded my house for her sister. Didn't know I'm the judge over her eviction case. Update 1. I was flipping steaks on the grill, humming along to an old blues track when a voice screeched over the fence like nails on a chalkboard. That one. That's the house my sister's taking. My wife dropped her drink. I dropped the tongs and the dog actually backed up 3 steps. Karen, the HOA president, was standing at the edge of our lawn flanked by a woman in oversized sunglasses, a white designer jumpsuit, and enough perfume to evacuate a beehive. She looked around like she was house shopping at a luxury estate auction. Then she pointed again, not asked, pointed like it was some sort of royal command. My sister Alexis has decided she wants this house. Karen repeated. You have 30 days to vacate. Now there are certain moments in life when your brain just doesn't know how to process what's being said. This was one of them. I blinked a few times, looked at my wife, she blinked back. We both laughed. At first not because it was funny, but because it sounded so far beyond stupid, it had to be a joke. But Karen's face remained carved in smug stone. Then she stepped forward and handed me a letter printed on some faux official HOA letterhead. The language was wild. It claimed, due to an emergency reassignment provision, and a special family consideration clause, the property was being transferred to a family member in need. Alexis was listed as the recipient. My name wasn't even mentioned. You're serious? I asked. Stunned. Karen flipped her bobbed haircut over one shoulder and said, absolutely, the board has agreed. You're free to pack now. Alexis chimed in from behind her. That kitchen's going to need a full gut renovation, she added while scrolling through her phone. She wasn't even making eye contact with us. My wife let out a disbelieving sound and stepped forward to say something, but I held her arm. Instead, I calmly looked at both of them and nodded slowly. They didn't know it yet, but this entire interaction had just been captured on 6 separate security cameras, including one zoomed tight on the ridiculous paperwork Karen handed me. What they didn't know, and what made this entire stunt spectacularly stupid, was that I was a federal civil court judge, not retired, not part-time, not honorary. I was the active sitting judge currently overseeing a case involving Karen's HOA case that included fraudulent assessments, HOA overreach and illegal occupancy demands. I didn't assign myself the case, obviously, but the judge it went to was a close colleague. And when I'd read the complaint, I almost choked, laughing at the name on the defendant line. Karen Matthews. But today, I decided to play dumb. I glanced over the letter and tried not to smirk. Interesting, I said. Is there a move-in date? Karen didn't catch the tone, and proudly declared first week of next month. Alexis already hired movers. In fact, she's bringing by some samples for the new paint this afternoon. You'll want to remove your things before then. Alexis finally looked up from her phone and started taking pictures of our front porch, then walked into our yard without permission, examining the exterior walls. She loudly declared she would be replacing all the windows, and probably installing a hot tub out back. It was like we'd turned invisible. She was so entitled she didn't even recognize we were the current legal homeowners. Karen, meanwhile, began lecturing us about community values and how sacrifices must be made for families undergoing hardship. I asked what kind of hardship Alexis was facing, and Karen said she was emotionally recovering from a divorce. I asked if that was the HOA's concern, and Karen said with a completely straight face, emotional health is a community matter. That's in our mission statement. I had to bite the inside of my cheek to keep from laughing. My wife stood frozen trying to process whether we were part of a prank show or if this was real. Karen then dropped one more bombshell. She said she had already changed the HOA's internal database to reflect Alexis as the pending owner of the property, and that the locksmith had been pre-scheduled for the following Friday. I asked if they'd be coming with police. Karen replied confidently, they won't be needed. You'll be gone by then anyway. I leaned back against the railing and took a deep breath. This wasn't just entitlement. This was a legal ambush by someone who didn't understand how anything worked. And she was arrogant enough to believe she could strong-arm a judge out of his own house on the basis of a fake HOA rule she invented herself. So I leaned forward and said, you know what, Karen? I appreciate the heads up. Let me just gather a few things before your crew shows up. I'll make it easy for everyone. Karen beamed and said, see, that's the community spirit we like to see. Alexis said, great, can you leave the curtains? They're perfect for my aesthetic. My wife looked at me like I'd lost my mind, but I nodded and walked inside. I went straight to my home office, shut the door, and pulled out the folder marked HOA versus Karen Matthews. I slid in the freshly printed screenshots from the security cams, then typed up a transcript of the entire bizarre interaction. I also called my colleague, Judge Mendoza, and gave him the update. He started laughing before I finished the sentence. You serious? She showed up to your house to take it. That's the kind of bold that wins awards, he said. Oh, it gets better, I replied. She scheduled a locksmith and declared emotional hardship as a legal transfer clause. He stopped laughing. I'm moving the hearing up. Let's get this on record. Back outside, Alexis was measuring the front porch with her phone and talking about where her Tesla charging station would go. Karen was trying to peek into our garage. I opened the door, smiled, and told them I just called our insurance company to let them know about the upcoming transfer in case anything valuable went missing during the quote transition. Karen looked a little uncertain now, but nodded, trying to keep face inside. My wife whispered, what exactly are you doing? I whispered back, I'm letting her dig her own grave. One HOA clause at a time. I'll hand her the shovel when she shows up with the locksmith. Now you can watch the second part by pressing share and more.